terrible shape. Like we just have to be very honest with ourselves. The Democratic Party is in really, really bad shape. The fact that our approval rating is, depending on the poll you believe, somewhere in the 20s or the teens, while Donald Trump is busy kind of vandalizing the government, that ain't good. And I think there's many reasons for that, which we can discuss, but we have not begun to address those problems. I do think we will not be able to fully address them until we have a leader, and that won't be for like 3 years when we nominate somebody for president, because parties ultimately are defined by their leaders and defined by them almost entirely. I mean, you can think about what Republicans did after 2012. As you know, they did big retrospective, the autopsy. They're like, we need to be nicer to immigrants, and then they nominate Trump and they go the opposite direction. So the nominees and the presidents make the party brand. And for the next few years, we won't have that. So it's going to be a tough couple of years deep in the wilderness for us. And I think there are some things we can do to set the table for the nominee. But right now, I don't feel like we're doing it.
Their own party is admitting it. They are openly admitting it. The Democrats are an abject disaster. That was Democrat Matt Bennett admitting to Mark Halperin that the Democrats are in a nightmare scenario. They will remain deep in the wilderness for years to come. Gang, these are Democrats admitting this. This shutdown, this Schumer shutdown, is destroying the Democrat Party as we speak. More Democrats are breaking ranks. They're starting to crack. I got the receipts. I got the stats, the data. And I'm going to show you precisely why the question is no longer, will the Democrats surrender, but how much damage will they do to themselves before they finally and inevitably cave? You're going to absolutely love this. Greetings, everyone. It is Live Stream Friday. I am your host, Dr. Steve, your patron professor, here to help you make sense of the madness as the radical left desperately tries to stop the unstoppable rise of a new conservative age that you're making happen all over the world. So if you want a front row seat on how you are changing the world in ways you never even imagined, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. You do not want to miss a single episode. As always, we got a jam-packed show for you on our live stream Friday. Our super chats are up, so feel free to send in your comments or your questions. It'd be my privilege to read them and answer them during this live stream. Also, I do want to give a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video, and that's our amazing friends over at Block Trust IRA. Now, gang, if you've been wanting to get into the crypto game, this is it. This is your best opportunity you're ever going to get. Now, if you don't know, the crypto revolution that's happening right now as we speak, it's just getting underway. It represents the single largest wealth transfer in American history. Over 80,000 new millionaires were created last year alone because of crypto. But of course, the turnoff is its volatility. I get it. No question. I'm in it. I'm at the heart of it. The extreme highs are great. You know, the 30, 40, 50% returns, right? But what about the equally extreme lows? Well, guess what? Your experience of that volatility is now officially a thing of the past. Block Trust IRA has a super AI system that Bitcoin Magazine is named the number one crypto technology platform in the entire world. That's among 1,500 global competitors. And what that super AI does is it works 24/7 to analyze global market data, and it predicts really with uncanny accuracy the highs and the lows of crypto volatility. So then Block Trust IRA sells at the highs and then buys again at the lows, which mitigates the volatility, all the while you stand to make incredible gains. So that's why I am a proud client of Block Trust IRA. I have my own account with them, and I can honestly say, gang, I love them, and I think you will too. So if you've ever wanted to get into the crypto game, this is now your chance. Let Block Trust IRA ease you in. Click the link below or visit turleytalkscrypto.com and find out how they can help you join the Trump financial revolution. It's finally giving forgotten Americans access to the greatest crypto wealth opportunity in history. And by the way, for a limited time, they're offering my viewers $2,500 in bonus crypto when you open up an account with them. Absolutely amazing. So don't wait on this. Visit TurleyTalksCrypto.com. That's TurleyTalksCrypto.com. All right, let's dive right in here. The Schumer shutdown nightmare is getting worse and worse for the Democrats. And the White House knows it. Trump knows it. Now, of course, the legacy media is doing everything they possibly can to try to carry water for the Democrats in this futile endeavor. They're doing everything they can to convince you that the Democrats somehow, some way are coming out ahead on this. For example, here are the shameless shills for all things Democrat over at the Washington Post. Look at this headline. The Senate blocked a bill to pay federal employees who've been required to keep working during the shutdown. The Senate blocked that bill to pay federal employees who are required to work during the shutdown. And Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin had to reveal the truth here for the Washington Post. Dudes, you know you're lying here. It wasn't the Senate. It was Senate Democrats who voted to block that bill. Every single Republican voted for it. If this were reversed, if the Republicans voted against and every single Democrat voted for it, you know the Washington Post would put as its headline, Republicans kill bill to pay starving federal workers. So this is the way the legacy media blatantly lies to their dwindling audience. In this case, it's a lie by omission. They fail to tell their rapidly dwindling audience that it was their own Senate Democrats who voted to kill that bill. But the good news is that the lying legacy media ain't fooling no one no more, except for the ones who want to be fooled, right? Remember, the far left can't handle reality. We actually have studies on this. The far left likes to be lied to because reality is too much of a crushing blow for them. You know, they don't know what a woman is. They think illegal migrants have more of a right to be here than citizens. They think it's illegal to actually enforce the law, right? They are at constant war with reality. So they want to live in an alternative reality of the legacy media's own making. So unless you are on the far left that wants to be lied to, you're not being fooled by any of this. And we know this because we have several fixed points in all of this that are absolutely incontrovertible. And they help clear up any confusion or obfuscation that the legacy media intentionally tries to impose and fog out with all of their nonsense propaganda. The first fixed point in this, you may want to write this down in case, you know, if you're just feeling a little vertigo and all of this Schumer shutdown propaganda, you may want to just make sure you say, okay, I know this, I know this, I know this. These are fixed points throughout the fog. The first key fixed point in all of this, and again, it is incontrovertible, is that the Schumer shutdown has not hurt President Trump at all. I'll say that again. The Schumer shutdown has not politically hurt Trump at all. And in fact, it's the opposite. His approval ratings are actually up since the time the shutdown began. And that's not right-wing talking points there. This is coming straight from none other than Harry Enton at CNN.
Trump shutdowns, net approval rating, we're talking 20 days into it. In 2018/2019, Donald Trump's net approval rating was already falling. The shutdown was eating into his popular support. It was down 3 points already at this particular point and would fall considerably more. It was very much on the decline. You come over to this side of the screen, this shutdown hasn't eaten into Donald Trump's support at all. His net approval rating is actually up a point in terms of his popular support. So the bottom line is this. The first shutdown during Trump's first term, 2018-2019, was hurting Donald Trump. This one is not hurting him at all. There's no real reason Donald Trump might say, at least when it comes to popular support, I want to get out of this shutdown.
What about the question of blame?
Yeah, okay. What about the question of blame? Okay, you see Donald Trump's net approval rating was down 2018 to 2019. You talk about 2025 as net approval rating is up. It comes down to the blame game, a game I loved to play when I was younger. Blame Trump for the shutdown a great deal. In 2018/2019, 61%, more than 3 in 5 Americans blame Trump a great deal for that particular shutdown. You come over to this side of the screen, look at this. It's a different world. It's a different world. 48% of Americans blame Trump a great deal for this particular shutdown. So it's more than 3 in 5 back in 2018/2019. It's less than half, a drop of 13 points. Again, it's no real wonder that Donald Trump at this point, looking at the shutdown, says, you know what, it's not actually harming me politically, in large part because he's getting less of the blame.
It's a different world. It's a different world. I love Harry. Holy Toledo. So make no mistake, this fixed point alone is an absolute nightmare for the Democrats. They went into this shutdown thinking that they could get the same results they got back in the 2018-2019 shutdown under Trump's first term. That was part of the focus group and the strategizing behind this. When Trump's net approval rating fell 3 points after 20 days of that shutdown, and it continued dropping, they looked at that data and say, if we initiate another shutdown, we can get comparable results. That was what they were counting on to try to reverse the momentum of the Democrats' seeming terminal decline. Remember, this shutdown served ultimately two purposes, at least from what we can discern here, because it's hard to discern because there's really no rationale for it, unless you start looking outside the normal parameters here. But first reason was to appease the Democrats' far left base that actually wants the shutdown. They want people hurting so as to increase their political leverage. And at a micro level, that worked out into Chuck Schumer trying to stave off a primary challenge from AOC. So the shutdown for the Democrats is first and foremost to appease their far left base. And secondly, it's an attempt at trying to change the political momentum, the political trajectory where the Democrats are perceived as terminal losers. Remember, the number one descriptor for Democrats, the number one predicate among voters is they're weak. Remember that. They're weak. They're losing support left, right, center. They are political disaster. They are terminal losers. Dementia Joe and Cackles Kamala literally destroyed the Democrat Party. And so they were hoping that the shutdown would both appease their party's far left base and reverse the curse of this terminal decline by finally forcing Trump's poll numbers to take a hit. And what happened? Oh, why? Truth is stranger than fiction, right? What happened? 20 days into the current shutdown, that's when Harry Enton was showing the poll numbers. His approval rating actually increased a point. It went up. In fact, even Harry Enton admitted, again, on CNN, there is no real reason to think Donald Trump might say, at least when it comes to popular support, you know what? I like this shutdown. I want to keep this shutdown going. Here's President Trump announcing, this just came last night, Trump announcing that an anonymous billionaire just sent a $130 million check to pay the troops during the current government shutdown. Check this out.
Friend of mine, talking about donors, a friend of mine, a man that's great. I'm not going to use his name unless he lets me do it. Susie can tell you about this, but he called us the other day and he said, I'd like to contribute any shortfall you have because of the Democrat shutdown. I'd like to personally contribute any shortfall you have with the military, because I love the military and I love the country, and any shortfall, if there's a shortfall, I'll contribute it. And today he sent us a check for $130 million. Can you share who that is? I would love to tell you. He doesn't really want the recognition, if you want to know the truth. But he gave us a check for $130 million. And that's going to go to the, which was sort of a shortfall, yeah. And that's going to go to the military, yeah.
And what's your message? So who do you think it was? A lot of people are saying it's Elon. Again, we don't know, right? But he and Trump have, ever since the Charlie Kirk funeral, have started to work together again. Actually, Elon tweeted it out, a picture of him and Trump together at the funeral, and put for Charlie above, which I'm very excited about because I think that's very important for maintaining the tech-trad alliance. It's going to keep us dominant for the foreseeable future. But I wouldn't be surprised if Elon sent that check. The optics of this are so bad for the Democrats. Again, Trump is taking charge. This is the opportunity for him to show that he can raise money, he can fund the troops, shows that he cares, and that he's working, that he's effective while, basically Congress is dysfunctional. So the optics are so bad that even the far left Young Turks, particularly Anna Kasparian, even they're admitting that the Democrats are just getting absolutely crushed in the shutdown. They played this clip from Harry Enton talking about how Trump is actually gaining approval in this process. Check out their assessment of that.
It turns out the government shutdown, which has been taking place for 21 days as of today, it's actually not hurting Trump politically. His poll numbers indicate that he's not falling, but rising in approval. Okay, just wanted to put that out there.
Okay.
Now let me just get my stool back. Okay, but in all seriousness, the government shutdown is ongoing, right? And now Democrats are a little bit concerned that they're going to be blamed for it.
A little bit concerned. Of course they are going to be blamed for it, Anna. Of course they're going to be blamed for it. They're the ones holding out. They're the ones making the demands. They're the ones who want to relitigate the one big beautiful bill. And historically, the party holding out and making the demands and routinely voting against the CR are the ones who are rightly blamed for the shutdown, precisely because they're the ones shutting it down. If it weren't for them, the government would be in operation. I mean, the level of left-wing ideological, inversion to alter reality so as to try to shift the blame away from the party that is actively shutting down the government. I mean, it defies belief. So that's your first fix point. That's what you have to get. Trump is not being hurt by this shutdown at all. In fact, if anything, it's helping him. But the second fix point is even worse. While Trump's numbers climb, Democrats are watching their support crater. And you heard that in that opening clip. According to the latest Quinnipiac University poll, Democrats in Congress have hit a devastating all-time low of 26% approval. 26%. There is a Quinnipiac poll. This might be an improvement. There is a Quinnipiac poll, I think, that had them at 19% just a few weeks back. So maybe this is improvement. Maybe they're gaining. 67% of voters, nearly 7 in 10, disapprove of the Democrat Party. That's a negative 41 net approval. I mean, this is about as devastating as it gets. And according to Morning Consult polling, blame for Democrats jumped from 32% to 38% for the shutdown in just 1 week, while Republican blame fell from 45% to 43%. As I know a lot of you are like, how can anyone blame the Republicans? I'm sorry, this is just residual. I mean, again, not everybody is as in tune and as observant of politics as we are. So this is just the lag. This is just the continued fallout from the past shutdown battles that were initiated by the Republicans, for right or for wrong. But again, because if past is precedent, because the party that is holding out and making the demands is one that gets blame, Republicans continue to be blamed by people who aren't paying a lot of attention. And these are basically all Democrats anyway. We're blaming them 43%. So, and then the rest just don't know. And they frankly don't care. That's the dirty little secret. Mark Mitchell's polling of Rasmussen found that most people don't actually care about this government shutdown. It just, to the extent that they do, it's hurting ultimately the Democrats inordinately. Congressional Democrats' net favorability in that same poll where their blame went up 6 points in a week, their net favorability plummeted by a comparable 6 points as well in just 2 weeks, while Republicans' net favorability improved by 4 points. And what's so astonishing here is that this hemorrhaging of support is actually worse among demographics that Democrats have already been losing. So if anything, this government shutdown is just exacerbating the hemorrhaging of key figures in their previous historical coalition. So young voters under 30 have reportedly abandoned Democrats by 10 percentage points since the shutdown began, dropping from 50% support to 40% support. They've already lost young men, voters under 30, males, by a 40-point swing. Millennials aged 30 to 44, they fell by 5 points in terms of their support of Democrats. And even more devastating, moderate voters have fled by 7 points. Black voters are showing signs of defection as well. And according to a report by Axios, while White House internal polling reveals that Democrats are falling apart over this, they're getting blamed left and right. And again, even Axios is admitting that Trump is running away with this as the clear political winner. Again, it needs to be underscored here that in their fleeting moments of honesty, rare moments of honesty, the legacy media has been admitting this. A few moments of honesty flickering among the liberal media have admitted there is no conceivable way in which the Democrats come out on top on this one. Again, the legacy media could try to gaslight you to your blue, and they could try, 90% of the popular polls show 90% blame Trump and the Republicans. They'll push those Marlboro cigarette polls to their blue in the face. There is no deleterious effects of smoking. We have the scientific studies to prove it, right? What was it called? Special interest surveys, something like that. There's a term for that where, just blatantly propagandistic nonsense is pushed forward as objective data. But there's no way around this. In their more honest, their fleeting honest moments, they're admitting Democrats have no way out on this advantageously. The entire editorial board of the Washington Post delivered a scathing assessment of the Democrat Party's shutdown strategy. They said that, and this is going all the way back to the beginning of this shutdown. They said they were going to politically damage themselves. The Democrats were going to politically damage themselves in ways that will be irreversible. And they're looking at the midterms, which we're going to look at in a moment. They're looking at the midterms and say, guys, you're gonna literally destroy yourselves from the midterm. I mean, basically, the editorial board's claiming that and they're right on this, that the Democrats' progressive far left flank has inadvertently led their party directly into what the Washington Post is calling a shutdown trap that was set by Donald Trump. So Trump is playing chess while the Democrats are playing checkers. Trump is going to get everything he wants out of this shutdown. All the while, this whole thing is going to blow up in the Democrats' face. They're going to get nothing. And the Washington Post isn't alone in that assessment. Against CNN, just a few days back, ran the headline, Democrats set a shutdown snare for Trump, but maybe walking into his trap instead. And again, the article admits that in the end, the political leverage is 1,000% on the side of Trump. Trump is getting everything he could possibly want in terms of power and control over D.C., whereas and he gets to even play sort of, savior, saying, hey, look at this. I've raised hundreds of millions of dollars to pay for our servicemen and women during this Schumer shutdown. He's getting everything he wants, whereas the Democrats get nothing. And that's because you have an asymmetrical politics in playing out in this shutdown. The Democrats are holding out for what they want, all the while Trump gets precisely what he wants in their holding out. You have to get that. The Democrats are holding out for what they want, all the while Trump gets precisely what he wants in their holding out. So he has no incentive to end this. And to make matters even worse, let's loop around. Let's do a circle back Psaki there. Who gets blamed for the shutdown? Who gets politically blamed for the shutdown, historically speaking? The ones holding out, the ones making the demands. So the Democrats are holding out to get what they want, all the while Trump gets precisely what he wants in their holding out. And the party that holds out is the one that gets blamed. It's a completely asymmetrical standoff. And we could keep going. USA Today explicitly laid the blame at the feet of the Democrats. I mean, look at, I hope Democrats learn from this shutdown, but we know that they won't. Or look at the latest from the Hill. Anonymous Senate Democrats are now admitting they want to surrender, but they're terrified of getting the guillotine from their far left base. Democrat senators fear getting hammered after no Kings for ending shutdown. And the whole article is about one anonymous Democrat senator after another admitting we want to cut base on this. We want to cut our losses, but we can't, because if we vote to reopen the government, the far left is going to come after us. They're going to primary us. Again, what Chuck Schumer is facing with the AOC threat is just a microcosm of what the entire Democrat Senate is facing. Just ask John Fetterman, right? I mean, the Hill is admitting in these anonymous interviews that Democrat senators would literally vote to reopen the government tomorrow. They'd vote in the next hour if they weren't so afraid of their own constituencies. So while Trump is gaining in popularity, the Democrats are suffering, but they can't do anything about it because the far left, the radical left, will destroy them internally. They'll primary them. So they're danged if they do, and they're danged if they don't. And that conundrum is crushing the Democrats way beyond the polls. Take a look at the latest from the Cook Political Report. This is crazy. This is the congressional maps, the congressional map, national map for the upcoming 2026 midterms. Take a look at those numbers. The Republicans last week were at 211 safe seats. They are now officially at 216 safe seats, according to Cook Political Report. If you don't know, bottom line, only about 10% of seats in Congress, ironically, it used to be more than that. It was like 17%, if I recall, are swing seats. Most seats are safe seats, and that's largely because of gerrymandering. Bottom line, I mean, congressmen know how to keep themselves in, or at least each party knows how to keep their representation in power in D.C. at the state legislatures know how to do that. Republicans are now at 216 safe seats. You only need 218 to win the majority control of Congress. They are at 216. They just need 2 seats at this point. And Ohio and Florida, right? And that's largely also because of the Texas redistricting. Ohio and Florida are next to follow. Missouri, by the way, too, also gave us an extra seat. Ohio and Florida are next to follow in their redistricting. Kansas looks like we're going to get another seat, possibly 2. The Mike Pence rhinos of Indiana are getting some, what shall we say, cold feet in all of this. They're getting a little gun shy. Scott Pressler is already threatening to support a get out the vote primary challenge. See, we could play this game too against all the Republican state legislatures in Indiana who were refusing to redistrict. They're so ridiculously pathetic. So Indiana should give us 1 or 2 more seats. I think they'll get on board. And then, of course, if the Supreme Court votes to or decides to overturn the VRA, the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, that the Democrats have been exploiting over these last 4 decades to explicitly and deliberately redraw congressional maps around racial segregation. They are deliberately redrawing maps to exclude white voters. If that gets overturned, you're going to see about 19 districts all throughout the South get wiped out for the Democrats. So when all is said and done, the Republicans do look more and more like they have a lock on Congress for the foreseeable future. Again, you only need 218, and right now they're just 2 seats away from retaining control of the House in 2026. Again, regardless of what happens, there will be no blue wave. I mean, if Cook Political Report is accurate and it's right on, there will be no blue wave. None. There's just not enough seats anymore. So these are just some of the fixed indicators of the shutdown. Trump's polls are up, the Democrats' polls are down, and the GOP is closer, 2 seats away to a lock on perpetual congressional power as far as the eye can see. And this is not even to mention the current voter registration crisis, as the New York Times calls it, where the Democrats are hemorrhaged over 1 million voters to the GOP this year alone. And that's on top of the 4.5 million voter registration swing to the GOP between 2020 and 2024. In all 30 states that track voter registration by party, the Democrats are losing to the GOP. You heard that right. If that's your first time hearing that stat, Democrats are losing to the GOP in every single one. Red state or blue state, doesn't matter. In every single one of the 30 states that track voter registration by party. And we're seeing it in the off-year elections in 2 blue states, Jersey and Virginia. They should be cakewalks for the Democrats. They should be cakewalks. They're neck and neck. In fact, it looks like Jack Ciattarelli is going to win. I just interviewed Scott Pressler. Make sure you keep an eye out for that interview. We're dropping it sometime today or this weekend. But Scott's like, I think we got this. I mean, the on-the-ground, rank-and-file grassroots enthusiasm right now is through the roof. And we've registered nearly 250,000 more Republicans since 2021, the last time Jack ran, when he lost by only 80,000 votes. So, I mean, this is just absolutely incredible. So both races in New Jersey and Virginia are neck and neck. When the Democrats should literally be winning by double digits. They are losing support everywhere. And so, of course, the Democrats are starting to crack over this. The congressional Democrats, particularly Senate Democrats, are starting to crack. They are starting to fracture. The pressure is causing the Democrat coalition to begin to unravel. And the level of self-destruction that's happening right now is absolutely glorious. Wait until you see this. But first, gang, if you are just joining us, our super chats are up, so feel free to send in your comments and questions. It'll be my honor to answer them on your live stream here. We already got a lively chat going on. Good to see you all guys there. What do I see? Your dad, so small. B Steals, F Lou, Michael, DIY Home. Love that. That's awesome. Kelly, great to see you guys. You are awesome. WK, good to see you. Awesome. D1. So come on in, gang. Put in a super chat. I'll be happy to answer your question or read your comment. Also, keep in mind, too, this is a good time for all of us to remember that we do need to take steps to protect ourselves and our loved ones online. And that actually begins with your home title. Now, if you're a homeowner like myself, you need to ask yourself, when was the last time you checked our home title? That's the legal proof that you own your house. Well, if you're like me, the answer is never. Until I met Home Title Lock, I had never once checked my home title. The problem is that all of our home titles are online. And in today's AI and cyber world, scammers are stealing home titles left and right, and they're using your equity as the target. It works. It's pretty nefarious. Criminals forge your signature on one document. They use a fake notary stamp. They pay a small fee with your county, and that's it. They're done. They steal a title like several times a day, right? It's been transferred out of your name. And then what they do is they take out loans using your equity. Some even sell your property. It's actually called house theft. And you won't even know it happened until you get collection notices or foreclosure notices. That's why you got to stop what you're doing right now and find out today if you've already been a victim. Use promo code TurleyTalks. It's all one word, TurleyTalks, at HomeTitleLock.com to make sure your title is still in your name. You're also going to get a free title history report, plus a free 14-day trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts right away to any changes, and if fraud should happen, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. They got your back. So go to HomeTitleLock.com right now. Use promo code TurleyTalks. That's HomeTitleLock.com, promo code TurleyTalks. All right. So we got 3 members of the Senate Democrat caucus that are breaking ranks pretty consistently. They are repeatedly voting to reopen the government. So that's Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, Senator Catherine Cortez Masto of Nevada, and an independent Senator Angus King of Maine, who caucuses with the Democrats. Fetterman has been the most outspoken in terms of throwing his party under the bus. I got to say, I've made the argument before. I think it's just a matter of time before he jumps ship. Rich Barris of the People's Pundit, he's pointed out a number of occasions that if we didn't have so many rhinos and neocons in the Republican Party, Fetterman would have already defected. He would have already switched parties. He would have become a populist Republican. In fact, he even said he'd support Republicans nuking the filibuster to reopen the government. And progressive activists, I mean, they are already mobilizing to take Fetterman out in 2028. So there's no way, I don't see how he can win re-election as a Democrat at this point. I don't think he'll make it through the primary. So he will either become a Republican or an independent, or he's going to drop out altogether, citing health reasons, whatever it is. Regardless, more and more senators are starting to at least indicate they're ready to break ranks. The most prominent is Senator Jean Shaheen of New Hampshire. She's come out and said that she now supports opening the government. And that list is only going to continue to grow with these asymmetrical political dynamics playing out. Now, what we have to understand is what makes these asymmetrical dynamics even worse is that there is a twofold flaw behind this Schumer shutdown. And I was really impressed by a conversation Mark Halperin was having with House Majority Whip Tom Emmer on this. There is an increasing sense on Capitol Hill that Republicans are winning the shutdown fight precisely because Democrats fundamentally misunderstand the rules of engagement in a shutdown. Unlike Democrats, Republicans have learned 2 critical lessons from past shutdown disasters, lessons seared into the party's institutional memory, especially most recently from 2013. First, you never use a federal government shutdown to leverage your policy objectives. You don't do that. It doesn't work. Again, remember, historically, who gets blamed for the shutdown? Which party? It's the party that makes the demands. They get the blame every time. Ultimately, that's what happens. The party that holds out for whatever issues, however noble, are the ones that ultimately end up getting blamed for the shutdown. The Republicans have learned that the hard way, and the Democrats are currently right now learning that lesson as we speak. So first, you don't use a federal government shutdown to leverage your policy objectives. Secondly, if you're going to enter a shutdown, you need an exit strategy. If you're going to enter a shutdown, you need an exit strategy. You need to understand what you're doing, why you're doing it, and then you have to have the various scenarios mapped out for how it all ends. And everyone agrees that the Democrats simply have not done that. They don't have a coherent message for why they're shutting down the government, and they don't have a fixed point that would trigger an end to the shutdown. So Democrats have tried to frame this entire fight originally around healthcare, specifically extending the ACA subsidies, the Affordable Care Act subsidies, because that's all they've got in the end. ACA was their last viable national coalition building issue back in 2008 in the first Obama election. That's all they've got. So they tried to make this fundamentally about ACA benefits. Then they ended up bungling that spectacularly by tacking on demands to put illegals back on taxpayer-funded health care, all the while simultaneously gutting $50 billion from Americans' rural health care. And of course, the Republicans pounced on that immediately. And then we learned that Democrats were initially targeting October 18th as their key date for this shutdown. Of course, that's the date for the No Kings rally last weekend. And they were using the shutdown to try to rally their base to get a surge of attendance at the No Kings rally across the country. They were scared to death that if they opened up the government before the rally, then the No Kings would effectively fizzle. So the rally comes, it goes. We saw all the liberal white boomers showing up. And now what? Senate Democrats found themselves trapped with nowhere to go after that. What do they do now? So they screwed up their original messaging with the Affordable Care Act, getting that obfuscated now with realizing that they wanted illegal migrants getting taxpayer funds to pay for their health care. Then they said, well, okay, but the deadline date we'll have around the No Kings rally. Well, the No Kings rally came and went. Now what? They passed their artificial deadline. Republicans aren't even remotely caving. In fact, Republicans are too busy buttering popcorn at this point, and they're just watching the Democrats to see what they're just waiting for the next Hakeem Jeffries interview where he just melts down. You're trying to force the Republicans to do something. This was the latest on CNBC. You're trying to force Republicans to do something with ACA that you Democrats didn't do when you had all three branches of government. When you had, well, I should say all thrhree houses of government. When you had the White House, the Senate, and the House, you didn't even do it. Why are you forcing the Republicans to do it? Just Hakeem is just what did I call him? Dollar Store Obama. Dollar store. That's an insult to the dollar store, I think. So Republicans aren't caving. Their deadline is passed, and suddenly Democrats are realizing they're holding a losing hand with no way to fold without objectively humiliating themselves. And so without any exit strategy, it gets harder and harder and harder for them to reopen the government every day this goes on, because it keeps getting more and more humiliating. And at the same time, because they're holding a losing hand in that the party that makes the demands always gets blamed, every day Democrats wait, their political position weakens. And so that circles back Psaki's. I'm just get rid of Psaki. That just circles us back then to the nightmare polling for the Democrats that we saw earlier. Record low approval ratings. An increasing number of voters blaming them for the shutdown, which of course is inevitable. An increase in the lock on congressional seats for the GOP going into 2026. Neck and neck races in two blue states that Democrats should be winning by landslides. An ongoing voter registration crisis across the country. And you can see how, as all of these crises stack one upon the other, how you have warts on top of warts on top of warts, you can see how this is a literal nightmare scenario for a crumbling party. Oh, and at the same time, let's really hit them while they're there. At the very same time, Trump's poll numbers are going up. And we're finding out Trump and the GOP literally have zero plans to cave. Zero. They see the Democrats trapped in their own doom loop of their own making. And like I said, they're just buttering the popcorn and they're just sitting back and they're just watching the latest Hakeem Jeffries interview or the latest AOC interview or the latest Chuck Schumer interview. And they are just watching their political opponents destroying themselves. Case in point, I don't know if you saw the headline from the Washington Post earlier. Do you remember that? Claiming that it was the Senate that voted against paying federal workers who were still having to work during the shutdown, when in point of fact, it was actually only the Democrats who voted against that bill. You may be asking, why would they do that? Why on earth would the Democrats vote against paying essential workers, other than knowing that the legacy media would give them cover on that? Why are the Democrats actively voting against paying those who have to work during the shutdown? The answer is simple. Because accepting the compromise would fracture their caucus further. With 3 Democrats like John Fetterman consistently breaking ranks and voting to reopen the government already, what would happen if they allowed even a partial government reopening? What would happen? That would be a pressure valve release. And they would lose all leverage to force Republicans into extending these ACA subsidies. So they're holding federal workers hostage to their own political demands. Exactly what they're admitting they're doing. I'm sure you saw this, but this video is absolutely devastating. It deserves to be played over and over and over again. This is the Democrat House Whip, Catherine Clark, a nobody, a loser, but she is nevertheless the number 2 ranking Democrat in the House. Listen to what she said in an interview with Fox News.
Shutdowns are terrible. And of course, there will be, families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility very seriously. But it is one of the few leveraged times we have.
Yes, we feel your pain. We know you're suffering. We take that very, very seriously. But you see, that suffering gives us leverage. That suffering gives us leverage, and we love leverage. So you're going to continue to suffer. These Democrats are so flipping self-unaware that they're literally blurting out for all to hear that they are willing to let American families suffer for their own political gain. So bottom line, you heard it. And to his credit, Speaker Mike Johnson has been looping that interview on a TV screen in front of his office. Bottom line, they are admitting that this shutdown is not about principle. It's not about policy. It's about Democrat power. Democrats are holding the country hostage for their own political leverage. That's the shutdown has not happened because of the Republicans. The shutdown has happened because of the Democrats. And they're confessing it on camera. America's suffering is the Democrats' political weapon. So bottom line here, the Democrats are absolutely in a free fall. They are defeating themselves in every way imaginable. And this is happening at the same time that Trump has signed now 210 executive orders already this year. He's not even been president for a full year yet. 210 executive orders, 9 months in office, the most since FDR. He is governing without Congress, making them increasingly irrelevant. All at the same time, he is revitalizing, he is reawakening constitutionally mandated executive power, taking it away from the permanent Washington, right? The independent agencies that make up that 4th branch of government of the administrative state that are accountable to no one. They are unelected bureaucrats accountable to no one. The president's telling him your days are over. I am assuming authority over the executive branch, and I'm going to govern decisively with the executive power given to me by the Constitution. Domestically, Trump has thus far sealed the southern border. He's initiated one of the biggest mass deportation efforts in American history. Over 2 million now deported, both forcefully and as well self-deportation. He's brought down gas prices. He's brought down prices in general. So inflation is at a 4-year low. Gas prices are at a 4-year low, with the national average under $3 for the first time in 4 years. And the midterm message is already written. Promises made, promises kept. Specifically, the border's been closed. The illegal immigration crisis has been brought under control. The economy is moving forward again. More Americans are prospering. It's morning again in America. And the Democrats have no idea how to counter that. They have no issues for which they can stand. They can only enunciate what they're against. And what are they against? What are they against? No kings. No tyrants. No to fascists. No to authoritarians. No to Nazis. I mean, it's beyond pathetic. You could not script a more inept opponent than this. The Democrats, they have no leader. They have no clear message. They're running out of money. They are hemorrhaging members. They are just chaos. Republicans are winning this fight because they learn from past mistakes. They developed a clear strategy, and they're executing it with discipline under both President Trump and Speaker Mike Johnson's leadership. Democrats entered this without an exit plan. They bungled their messaging on a winning issue, they thought, and are now trapped between their radical base and political reality. Trump's approval is rising, all the while the Democrats' approval is crashing. Republicans are keeping the main thing, and with every passing day, Democrats dig themselves deeper into a hole they don't know how to escape. Butter the popcorn. This is going to continue to get even better. Over to you. I've talked enough. I want to hear what you have to say. You're the ones who are changing the world after all, as Josh assembles your questions. Remember, our super chats are up, so if you want to send me your comments or questions, it will be my honor to read them and answer them right here, right now on this live stream. Also, you, of course, all remember Biden's debate disaster when he blurted out, we finally beat Medicare. Well, it's true, as Trump said, you beat it to death. Medicare touches the lives of millions of Americans, but just like about everything else the government touches, it's a mess, and mistakes can cost you thousands. Between confusing rules and penalties, thousands of different plans, I mean, it's no wonder so many people are spending more than they need to each and every year because they're stuck with the wrong plan. So that's why I want to introduce you to a genuinely helpful company, Chapter. Chapter gives you personalized Medicare advice, and they actually work for you, not the government, not big insurance. They search every plan available, even those that other agents skip. And by doing this, they save people an average of $1,100 per year, sometimes more. In fact, Chapter was able to save one couple, Joe and his wife, $3,000 every year. Chapter's advice is completely free to my audience. No fees, no pressure, just honest help. So if you're already on Medicare or you're about to be, I can't recommend Chapter enough. Give them a call at 919-727-1903 to make sure your Medicare works for you. Most people wish they had called them sooner. You'll love it. Again, that's 919-727-1903. All right, Josh, what do we got? Give me some questions. Throw them at me. I'm ready. Richard, Merrick Garland, and Smith. Jack Smith are currently pardoned. If they plead the fifth, they break pardons. If they lie, they break pardons. If they tell the truth, they indict everyone. Is this the Kobayashi Maru? I didn't know Smith was pardoned. Just give me a sec here. I didn't even think, what's his name? Merrick Garland was pardoned. Pardoned by AutoPen, of course. No, they were not. So they were not pardoned. So they are fair game. If they plead the fifth, they break. Yeah. So So the basic premise doesn't work. So no, they have not been pardoned. Beard off. Why don't we, the people, just donate to make sure the troops get paid and we get a special tax credit for the donation? Brilliant. Brilliant. That'd be awesome. How do we get that out there? You got to put beard off. You got to get that out there. That'd be amazing. Imagine if Trump announced that we're going to have set up a donation, put your name in it, and you're going to get a tax credit for that donation to pay our troops and first responders in general and so forth. I think that's brilliant. You might want to research how to get, see if you can send that to the White House, send that to somebody in Trump's inner circle. You might want to reach out to Cliff Maloney, now of New Jersey Chase. He was of Pennsylvania Chase, and email him that. Just look up his contact information on and say, what do you, is there, because he knows everybody. He literally knows everybody inside the Trump administration. See if you can get that to him. That's brilliant. Awesome, Beardoff. Brandon, Doc, my X feed for news politics has been over the top. Shit libs. Reality is Trump is winning. The last vestige of FDR racism is now gone, East Wing, and the left just keeps losing it. We keep winning. I agree with you 1,000%, Brandon. Again, the legacy media is going to do everything they possibly can to try to dishearten MAGA folk. They've been doing that for unsuccessfully for 9 years. They want to animate the sleeper cells of black pillars and doomers to take over X and, and try to convince people all is one. But it's not working. It's just not. And it's just not. People aren't doing it. They recognize Trump is crushing it. I mean, the very fact that they're flipping out over a ballroom, the party of Bill Clinton is freaking out about what a president is doing to the White House. The party that tore down monuments across the country is freaked out about cranes and tearing things down. I mean, it's just nobody. The party that celebrated Obama putting in, what was it, like a $300 million basketball course on our taxpayer dime, by the way. This is all private. It's all proof they've got nothing. They have no issues at all. Now, that makes them dangerous because their only issue is Nazis. Their only issue is destroying us. That's it. But MAGA is, border security, economic security, cultural security, destroying wokeness, reconfiguring the globalist international trade system, rendering the IMF, WTO, World Bank irrelevant, restoring civilizationalist integrity all throughout the world. I mean, we have a vision. We're very clear on it. And we are so excited about it. And we're winning because we've got leadership that can make it happen. We've got the leaders. We've got a growing membership. What now? Almost 6 million voter registration swing to Republicans since 2020. We've got money. Trump has over $1 billion on hand right now that he's raised. And we've got all the issues. We've got all the ideas. They've got nothing. So I'm with you 1,000%, Brandon. Brilliant. Carol, unable to find link for second night of your class on Abolition of Man Tuesday. Instead, to keep up, I listened to Robert Barton's After Humanity, Oxford lecture. Catholic priest. Yep, I know Father Robert. Actually, as a matter of fact, I think I've done an interview with Father Robert. Helpful, but he is not nearly as much fun to listen to as you, Dr. Steve. Can you help me? Hey, Josh, can we get Carol or somebody in troubleshooting to give Carol a link for the second night of Abolition of Man? We got you covered, Carol. We'll take care of you. Joan, brief overview of what the ballroom hullabaloo is all about. Have you seen the headline but not read? Only know it's funded by donations. Yeah, so President Trump being the builder that he is, he's so funny. You would hear the construction when he's doing his press conference. He's like, "Oh, do you hear that? Boom, 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 bang, bang, bang. There's salsa. Do you hear that? Oh, I love the sound of that. Do you know what I think of when I hear that sound? Money. That's money. But unfortunately, it's money I'm spending because I'm paying for it. You know." He's so hilarious. So yeah, bottom line, the White House, ironically, is not that impressive a building. A lot of people have talked about it. Okay, it's basically a hotel. When all said and done, people stay the night all the time in there. But it's run like it's got a fine dining, it's a kitchen, and it's got a full service, it's not that impressive of a building. And one of the things that Trump recognized is when they host dignitaries from around the world, oftentimes if they have any real big like shindig, they actually have to set up a tent in the Rose Garden. They have to set up because they don't have any room inside. And he said, "This is insane." So he decided we're gonna construct. Like, I don't know if you've ever been to Mar-a-Lago, but Mar-a-Lago has an amazing ballroom, absolutely gorgeous, gold-gilded ballroom. And he wants to construct something comparable to that for the White House. So he's trying to bring the White House up to another level. And presidents do this. That's the hilarious thing, is presidents have done this time and time and time again. Again, Obama gave us a basketball court, and who was it that covered up? I think it was Nixon, who turned JFK's pool into the situation briefing room. And I think Clinton put in a track in the basement there so he could run and didn't have to go outside and freak out Secret Service and all that sort of stuff. So Trump isn't doing anything that past presidents haven't done. The problem is back in the day, the opposition party had issues that they could argue. They actually had issues that animated their grassroots and their political base, and that they could use to reach out to people on the fence. Democrats have not had an issue since ACA, since the Affordable Care Act in 2008. That was their last major issue. Democrats have not had a major galvanizing coalition forming issue since ACA. They've got nothing. And Democrats admit this. Give me the top 5 if we ask you, give me the top 5 of Trump, no problem. Border security, mass deportations, bring manufacturing and industry back home, deregulate government, doge it to heck. I could keep going, right? Get men out of women's sports, get rid of DEI completely, institute tariffs so to bring in another revenue stream for public funds, and to reinvent trade as an extension of national security and this mercantilism, and basically dismantle the globalist order and dismantle the administrative state while we're at it as well. There's 10 things Trump will talk about ad nauseum. That's 10 hours of lectures for Trump. He could take those 10 issues and wax eloquently for an hour easily, no notes, nothing on those 10. What do the Democrats stand for? Give me the top 5. Top 5 issues Democrats stand for. You can't. Because they don't stand for anything. They're only against. And so that's what this whole ballroom hoopla is. It's, look at Trump. He's destroying the White House. He's literally destroying the White House. The very people who were cheerleading the destruction of monuments are now concerned about destroying public property. It's just absurd. And of course, he's not destroying the White House. They are putting an addition to it. And an addition requires that they knock out a wall or whatever they're doing there. So that's what it is, bottom line. It's an admission the Democrats have no issues. I'm Rock Dog, Dr. Steve. Can we stop referring to Cory Booker as Spartacus? Spartacus was a strong, defiant character. Well, as I recall, I think he said he called himself Spartacus. Cory Booker, we should start referring to him as ridiculous instead of Spartacus. Your thoughts? Of course. There's an irony to it because he referred to himself as Spartacus. And so and that's such a ridiculous comparison because, as you're pointing out, he was a strong, defiant character, unlike someone like Cory Booker. So absolutely. Calling him Spartacus is actually, I think, an ironic form of calling him ridiculous. Lord Voldemort, I'm surprised that CNN pollster still has a job. Yeah, Harry's pretty good. And also CNN is, they've had some pressure from the top that they need to tone down their far left antics. Mr. Brian, hello, Dr. Steve. How can I support Republicans on a path to victory? I have a graphic design background, and I would love to offer my abilities to the rise of a new conservative age. That's awesome, Mr. Brian. Oh, there's so many ways. I'm going to give you the same advice as I gave to the other fellow there. Why don't you contact Cliff Maloney, Maloney, at Pennsylvania Chase. And he's at New Jersey Chase as well now, and ask him if he has any suggestions of how you can get. First of all, you can get involved with his group. I'd also contact Scott Pressler. When you watch the video, if you keep an eye out for the video of my interview with him, it goes up, I believe, this weekend. He has a contact information at the bottom of the video. And contact him as well. That's Early Vote Action. They're national. They're all over. Start there and just make your way in, and then see how they can use your services. I'm sure they will find something for you to do. No question, especially if you've got a graphic design background. That sounds great. Since we're very visual and we're online, that's awesome, Mr. Brian. Awesome. It'd be great to have you as part of the fight. BW, Dems are waiting because food stamps go out on the 31st, Steve. They're hoping no food at Thanksgiving gets blame on Trump. This could cost us midterms. I doubt it, BW. I doubt it. First of all, let's be blunt, people who are on food stamps ain't voting Republican. Let's just be blunt on that. And but no, again, it's the party that's holding out that gets the blame, not just Democrats, or not just Republicans and Trump. I don't buy that premise, BW. MAGA 20 forever. Dr. Steve indicated that all signs point to a Democrat civil war. Could it take the form of blue states controlled by establishment Democrats redistricting to eliminate some of their radical members like AOC while still having a more stable Democrat holding their seat? That's a good question. I don't know how it's going to play out. I've been thinking about this too. So far, I've been shocked to the extent to which the establishment has been bending the knee to the progressive wing. I gotta admit it. I've been so I don't know if that's because the donors have been telling him to do it. I don't know. I'm still trying to work that out, but that would be an option the way you put it. It doesn't really work. Redistricting only works with representatives. It's not going to work with Senate. So it wouldn't apply there. So the radicals could just run for the Senate. I could easily see Mamdani running for the Senate in New York at some point, and he could win easily. Again, can he win a general election? No. I mean, it would be a disaster. Would he turn New York more red? Yes, that's part of the blowback. So that's sort of, I think it seems to me, the way the Civil War is playing out is, rather than fight back, the establishment is either bending the knee or, like Anna Kasparian and so forth, they're kind of moving away from the Democrats. And we're seeing it with Bill Maher. It's astonishing. And they're just moving away and saying there's no reasoning with these radicals. So anyway, we'll have to see how that plays out. Great question. BW, Dems are waiting because, we already did that one. Be still overturning the race-based redistricting. Will it force even the blue states to redistrict under the change? It will. It will, for every single district that has been drawn up in the last 4 years, explicitly predicated on racial segregation will have to be redrawn. The problem is if blue states redraw it, they'll make sure to redraw it in their advantage. So we're looking at about 19. That's Politico's assessment. 19 districts that were drawn up over the last 40 years, Democrat districts in the South, with all solid red legislatures redrawing the districts. And they're going to redraw them red. Josie Wales, great movie. Outlaw Clint Eastwood. What's happening with the census? Haven't heard. You're wanting you're wanting the mid-decade census. Trump was floating that around for sure because the 2020 census was so horrifically botched. We don't want to wait around for the 2030 census. We want to correct it now. If it was botched, correct it, right? Haven't heard. Ed, will America ever revert back to common law and get away from maritime law? Wow, love your work, brother. Thank you, Ed. Well, I mean, I have to confess, I've never heard of our law referred to as maritime law. So are you talking about fluid? You're talking about relativism? I'm getting that same, positivist law. So generally it's been natural law versus positivist law. That's the way, that's the analysis that I've come across. Natural laws, the idea that laws are discovered, they are divine, they're embedded in nature and nature's by way of nature's God, and that we are supposed to recognize them and harmoniously calibrate our society around that. Versus positivist law that basically says we have an educated elite, an elite of so-called experts that get to invent law, that get to create law in accordance with what they believe to be as most advantageous ultimately for them. But they'll always hide behind the veneer of we're liberating, we're emancipating, we're bringing justice, all that sort of stuff. Oh, yeah. No, I think so. I think we're moving back even now. I think MAGA is, by its nature, in many respects, a natural law movement. So it's rejecting this notion of, gender is fluid. It's rejecting this notion of trans athletes and sports. It's rejecting wokeness. And in order to reject wokeness, if you notice, you have to go back to natural law like reasoning. It's like you have to go back to basic, objective, scientific frames of reference that all human reasoning can reach. That's, as I understand, the basic premise of natural law is that human reason can access basic moral prescripts that we're all ultimately accountable to, rather than venom in accordance with one's own political whims. So I think we're moving back in that direction. Now, how pure we'll be with it and so forth, it's anybody's guess. Pete, why do people call real establishment Republicans the establishment Republican Party? Right, rhinos. So Republic is a name only. So it goes back to this notion that you're dealing with a uniparty. By claiming they are Republicans, they are saying they are not Democrats, that there is a clear distinction between them and Democrats. But what we're finding more and more, and this has certainly got exploited by Trump in 2016 election. What we're finding more and more is that both parties actually have the same donors. They have the same foreign policy. They have very similar tax policies that always benefit their donors and the like. So they're actually all Republicans and Democrats alike members of a permanent political class that is in point of fact a uniparty. It has one party that that governs the country in accordance with its own values, interests, concerns, and if those conflict with the values, interests, concerns of the people, then the people are wrong. They're racist. They're bigots. They're phobic, and the like. So they hide behind the veneer of virtue in pushing policies that they're in 100% in agreement with. By the way, most bills that pass, either in the House and the Senate, pass overwhelmingly. We're talking like by 98%. Now, granted, a lot of them are just, formalities and so forth. Granted, but in the end, the call out of a rhino Republican is in the end, there ain't that big of a difference between you and Nancy Pelosi when all is said and done. There's not a big difference between, Mitt Romney and Chuck Schumer. Ain't that big of a difference. Maybe Schumer wants to raise your taxes 5%, and Romney wants to lower them 5%. But in the end, foreign policy, tax codes favoring this industry versus that industry and so forth, that's all baked into the cake. It doesn't matter if you put in a Democrat or Republican. The Brits found this out the hard way with the Tories. The Tories campaign said, we're going to shut down our borders, and we're going to make sure that we end this influx of immigration. They get into power in 2019, huge mandate of power, probably the biggest landslide victory, the Boris landslide victory in December of 2019 in 100 years. And what's the first thing they do? Open the borders, just like Labor would have done. So there's not a dime's worth of difference between the left versus the right when they become these corporate parties of Republican versus Democrat. So that's why they're called rhinos. They're Republicans in name only. There's really not that much of a difference between them and Democrats. William O'Toole, Dr. Steve, happy Friday. NBA scandal, yeah, and Governor Pritzker acknowledgement of poker winnings in Vegas in the same week. There are no coincidences. I think the NBA FBI probe is bigger than hoopsters and might involve other people in different walks of life. Your thoughts? I'm starting to believe that, Major League Baseball, NBA, NFL might be more scripted than WWE. Yeah, well, being a Phillies fan, being a Philadelphia sports fan, yes, I would love to believe that for sure. I have to think about this one, William. I saw it yesterday. I saw that Stephen A. Smith was very upset, and he's blaming Trump over it, which is actually just silly and stupid. I'm going to have to think about that. Yeah, that is interesting. I did not make the connection of how this came out the same week of Pritzker's insane gambling a haul. 7 figures. Something's going on there. And of course, I don't know. He doesn't have the money anymore because he went to Pizza Hut afterward. But nevertheless, I'll have to think about that. I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if more is choreographed behind the scenes than we knew about. I would not be surprised by that. Kevin, California Republicans need to get their centrist independent friends to vote against the California Governor Newsom gerrymandering Prop 50. Amen, Kevin. Amen. Yeah, if you're in California, make sure you vote against Prop 50. Absolutely. Adam Price. Hi, Dr. Steve. Did you hear about the triumphal arc? Yeah, that Trump wants to build in D.C. Also, I'm eager for more updates on the National Garden of American Heroes. Oh, God, that sounds awesome. That last part, I have to catch up on that. I have heard about that, but I've dropped the ball on that. No. Yeah. So the Arc de Triomphe, the triumphal arc that Trump is planning for DC. Again, it's all part of his. So Trump promised freedom cities, or, he envisioned freedom cities. Now, he talked about 10 new ones as part of what we call mega regions. So we don't think of just isolated cities anymore. Cities are part of a constellation of regionally proximate cities in their locations. So think of, Boston, New York, Philly, for example. Those cities create these corridors. I mean, I see it just being in the Northeast. The Northeast corridor, if I recall, is the most traveled Amtrak route in the nation. And so it's not just New York that's a hub for economic activity. It's New York as it interacts with Philly and with Boston. So it's an entire mega region of economic activity. What Trump wanted to do, as I understand it, is we have about 10 mega regions, right? You think just like Texas and the Dallas-Fort Worth area and all that. We have about 10 mega regions, probably more, depending how you divide it up. And I think he wanted to put in a new city, a new freedom city, at the heart of each of these mega regions to be like the axis around which all of the economic activity goes. But it would be thoroughly red. Obviously, it'd be mostly conservatives living there, which would be great. I love urban life. I think cities are absolutely essential to the revitalization of civilization, because that's what civilization is. It comes from the Latin civitas, which means city. But it seems like he's pivoted a little bit, and he's now, I think he recognizes we have to revitalize our major cities. I don't think it's any coincidence he's looking at DC, LA, and Chicago, and I think he is going to start looking at New York, because these are, three of our like top 5 cities. And he's all about revitalizing it. And the revitalization's happening at 2 levels. Did you notice? First, it's negative. It's getting rid of something. And then it's positive. It's building something. So the negative is bringing in National Guard and so forth and cleaning up the streets, making it safe again. Because and Nayib Bukele would tell you this of El Salvador, if you don't have safety, you can't have prosperity. That simple. Only drug lords are prospering, right? So he's negatively getting rid of the crime. Now, positively, he's rebuilding the city. And he's rebuilding the city with projects that are beautifying the city. And you hear him saying that over and over again. We're going to make the grass beautiful. The grass is very old in DC. It hasn't been burned out and then replaced with brand new. So we're going to make all the grass lush and beautiful. I know grass because I got my golf courts and so forth. And then we're going to rebuild. We're seeing it with the White House with classical architecture. That's been a big thing. Viktor Orban's been doing that in the building projects in Budapest and throughout Hungary. He's returning architecture to classical. He actually signed an executive order that mandates all public federal buildings must be classical in nature, meaning it has to reflect the architecture of Jerusalem, Athens, or Rome. So if you go and you look at the Capitol building, what does it look like? Straight out of which ancient city, right? Rome. You look at the Supreme Court, what does it look like? Right, Greece, that kind of thing. And then, just the Georgian column structures of the White House comes out of that tradition. There's a lot of diversity in that tradition, but nothing like the ugly, J. Edgar Hoover building or the IRS building that are just concrete slabs. These are ugly, and he's done with these ugly buildings, right? We're not going to uglify modern life anymore. We are in the archaeofuture age, where the future is going to look like a revitalized ancient splendor. And that captures our civilization. Our civilization's captured in architecture. So I think that's what he's doing. And I'm very excited about it. I think it's wonderful. Robo Guy for New Jersey. I'm wondering if they might try any shenanigans. But with the momentum, I'm hoping we'll be able to overcome both that and the blue firewall. Yeah, I think we've already overcome the firewall. So we don't need to beat the firewall. All we need to do is minimize the margins that they accumulate in their early mail-in voting and in-person vote. We should beat them in in-person early vote. It starts tomorrow, the 25th. Yeah. So it should, we'll keep an eye on it. We'll know at the end of the day on Saturday how the early voting went, and we'll see it all through next week. But yeah, I'm with you. I think they could try to pull some shenanigans, but it seems to me shenanigans are harder and harder to pull nowadays, thankfully. Nikki Apolo, opinion on the new Japanese prime minister. Do you think that Japan will allow nuclear weapons to be held on Japanese soil? New video on her soon. I've been trying to get that in. Yes, she's amazing. I haven't memorized her name yet. I need to. But everything I've read of the new Japanese prime minister, first female, is she was a protege and part of the inner circle of Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, who was their first real. He and Trump were very, very close. He was the one that was assassinated, and he was very, very nationalistic and was very much about trying to return Japan and restore their national sovereignty. She's even more nationalistic. She's even more conservative. So this is huge. This is amazing because The NHK was caught completely flat-footed in this. So just like Trump in 2016, there's been some reports on this. The NHK thought they're part of what's called the Liberal Party. So they mean classical liberal, not liberal like left wing, classical liberal. But the Liberal Party in Japan, they've been the only party in power since World War II, and they're a total paralysis. They're totally stagnant. But Japanese are very conservative, and so it's been the only option. Sanseto has risen to third place. That is their MAGA party. They've actually called themselves the Trump Party of Japan. And she is basically the Sanseto wing of their center-right party, the Liberals. And NHK, which is their BBC, never saw that coming. They thought it was going to be politics as usual, and that the establishment was going to be able to stave off any challenge from the so-called far right of Japan. And they were wrong. She won. And so far so good. She's amazing. They're closing their borders. They're making it very difficult to get a visa to come in if you're from, the Philippines or from Korea or China. Chinese businessmen have been exploiting some loopholes that the Liberal Party had put in for them to buy up property and to become permanently employed in Japan. She's closing apparently all those loopholes, making it. And she's openly stated, "I would rather see Japan shrink in population but keep our culture than open up the floodgates to all these foreigners." So, border security, economic security, cultural security, baby. It's post-security politics, and she's articulating it brilliantly. So yes, I will try to have something on that ASAP. Maybe sometime this weekend. Might be a really good one to do this weekend. Thank you, Nikki Apollo. I appreciate that. Oh, will they allow nuclear weapons? That's a sore spot for Japanese, obviously, for obvious reasons. So I don't know the answer to that. I don't think so. Japanese wouldn't vote for it. Not now, at least. Not this. Too soon, as they say. Clank, clank, I'm Matang. Johnson needs to run a balanced budget through the House as an alternative. Oh, neat, to the resolution. Say, but now you're going to have to deal with the, well, maybe, I mean, you already have a budget in place. You have the OBBB, OBB. I think I threw in an extra B there. You already have a budget in place. Maybe when it comes to an end, you can bring in a balanced budget. Balanced budgets are not as popular as you might think because they involve a lot of cuts, and just both parties get their political power by spending, not by cutting. So we'll have to see. But right now they're just sitting it out and watching the Democrats fall apart. Rebel, I think the radical left is enjoying the shutdown as much as the GOP is because they know this is going to ruin current Democrat leadership and set up AOC to take control of the party for good. That's a really cool way of putting it, RS. That's a really cool way of putting it. I mean, right now the establishment is doing the best they can from sort of a very quiet, anonymous route, leaking blame for the shutdown on the AOC wing. But they have all the power and the momentum at this point. So I think you're right. I think in many respects, this is about trying to get rid of Chuck Schumer and embarrass him in the end. And that means he just walked right into it. Clank, clank, no balance the budget with the nuclear option. Yeah. Well, no, you can, right. Yeah, no, if it's an appropriations bills, I understand you balance the budget for that. Are you saying no, balance the budget with, right, with a 50% plus one vote? Sure. No, I know. I got it. I just don't know if you're going to get that. I don't know if you're going to get those 51 votes. That's all. Just they're not the most. You're talking about in the Senate, even with the House. It's going to be hard. The OBB was a difficult one. Beard off. Trump 2028 will be greater than Trump 2024. I'm with you, Beard off. I'm with you. I want to see it. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see how they can pull it off. Dennis, can Trump close federal courts due to lack of money? I don't know if he can close them. He could. They could certainly not fund them if they don't have the money. Sure, but I don't know if they can be closed. It's a good question. Don't know. James Taylor, what's the status of the anchor baby issue, and what are the chances SCOTUS overturns that mess? Thanks for all you do. Thanks, James. Haven't caught up with it yet. I mean, it's on the dock for the Supreme Court to have to decide on. So we'll have to see how they interpret the so-called anchor baby amendment. Simple logic. Hey, Dr. S, not blackpilling, but when do you think prices are going to go down across the board? Not saying I'm against Trump or what he's doing. My family are just trying to see some relief. Yeah, they are down. They are down. I mean, they went up astronomically, but they are down to their lowest what gas is on. And that's the bottom line. Keep an eye on energy. If the more energy goes down, the more prices will go down as a whole. Just bottom line. And the good news is it's going down. Energy costs are going down, but that's a leading indicator, whereas consumer prices are a lagging indicator. So it'll take a little time for them to catch up. Kevin, President Trump should shut down Amtrak now. I guess so. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Amtrak, to be sure. I've ridden European trains and Japanese trains, and they're infinitely better than ours. That's for sure. Mystic Tom, can Trump pay the troops and all using cash from tariffs? Yeah, he's been looking at that. Yep, he's been looking at that. I think he's made it very clear the troops are going to be paid for. And so that's what I mean. The Democrats are inadvertently making Trump look like a man of action, being decisive. Well, they look dysfunctional. Spuddybug, started listening to you recently. I love seeing new episode drop. Sometimes I wait, watch several at once. God bless and speed you in your vocation. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Spuddybug. Very appreciated. And thank you for the super chat as well. It's great to have you as part of the family here. Ventus Bruma, my current favorite thing is that the constant lawsuits and fights from the Democrats keep opening them up to Supreme Court cases that pull down the rulings and order that took them decades to build. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Again, we are in a perfect storm. This is why the Democrats are just flipping out right now. We're in a perfect storm where there's really, I mean, we've got all the issues in our favor. We've got the power and we've got the courts, right? The power in the executive and legislative branch, and we've got the courts. And that's just, there's really not much they can do against that. Alec, do you think there was something hidden in the ballrooms that left didn't want found, like more hidden incriminating evidence, something Epstein related? Well, that's a good question. I didn't think about it. Is that why they're all flipped out? Possibly. But I think the bottom line that they're bereft of any positive issues. So all they have is hate Trump, Hitler. It just tends to fit into that, it seems to me. All right, Republicans can ask for anything at the next budget bill. Yeah, they can. Yeah, as I understand. Again, it's going to have to pass that. It's going to have to be an appropriation. It's going to have to be so that it can be reconciled with the 50% plus one, whatever it is. Whatever they are asking for, I should say. Franz, could you please explain how Republicans are gaining seats without votes in the midterms? Do they eliminate or absorb other districts? Yes, that's exactly right. So the way it works is, and I appreciate our good friend Seth Keshel, the election analyst, the way he explains it. So the way it works, let's make it easy. About 20% of seats for any congressional election every 2 years, 20% are swing seats. Okay. And I forget the exact number. I think it's something like 50 seats or so, something like that. Might even be as high as 60. I forget what it was. No, it can't be 60. Yeah, 50 or so. Yeah. Anyway, about 20% are swing. They're purple. They can go left or right. So when it comes down to any midterm, the party that wins is the party that gets the most of the contested seats, the swing seats. And so back in 94, Gingrich and the Republicans crushed it. What did they get? 60 seats that year. You know, they were able to win like all the swing seats, plus they even took some otherwise safe blue seats out as well. And but what's happened is with these redistricting efforts and with the country getting redder and redder and redder, with red states, the 30 or so red states growing in their population by leaps and bounds, like in Florida, we're finding that once either blue or purple districts are now becoming actually red, and pretty safe red, pretty reliably red. So the percentage of the contested swing seats has shrunk to about 15%. And then you start bringing in all of these redistricted seats where you get rid of one district and change it for another district. So you're not adding a district, because you can only have the amount of representatives that are proportionate to your electors. So as I understand, if you have 14 electors, you're going to have 14 representatives. If you have one elector, you've got one representative, or something like that. It's a loose breakdown. It might be three electoral votes for every one, whatever it is. But bottom line, there's a proportionality there that limits it. So you have to if you want to put in a new solid red district, you're going to have to get rid of a blue district. And so what's happening in all these redistricting efforts and in the possibility of the Supreme Court overturning the VRA is that the amount of contested seats is evaporating to like single digits now, such that if there's only like 8% of congressional seats that are up for grabs, as long as the Republicans have 218 or more solid red seats that they've intentionally redistricted or just been beneficiaries of the leftugees and the mass influx of conservative population in the red states, as long as they have 218 at least, Democrats are boxed out of power. They can win all the contested seats, and it's not enough to win, because the contested seats are they're either part of their permanent minority of 217 or less seats, or Republicans are winning them as well. And again, given that they're swing, the Republicans have every bit of chance as winning as Democrats. And right now, as we speak, Democrats have 70% of all swing seats. So they're on the defense trying to defend those seats, where Republicans have 30%. And if they keep them, or even if they lose half of them, they still retain control. So it's a number. When all is said and done, Congress is a numbers game. Samuel, Dr. Turley, do you support the position of Helen Andrews that wokeness develops as a result of feminization of institutions? Please comment. Yeah, I've read that, and I do. I think that's right on. Yeah, I'd have to look at the argument in more detail to like 100% endorse it. But as I understand it, the argument is basically feminism was the first major emancipatory movement. It was the tip of the spear of liberalism. And its basic premise was that cultural and social norms were arbitrary power constructs. In other words, women were told they couldn't vote because men were in power. That's the only reason why women could vote. Men were in power, and that is an arbitrary social construct that is oppressive. And social justice requires that groups that are objects of oppression be liberated from those arbitrary social constructs. And you take that to the bank, you go from gender roles are an arbitrary social construct to gender is an arbitrary social construct. And social justice requires that people be liberated from these arbitrary cultural norms of gender. So yes, I mean, I definitely see this is where the criticism of J.K. Rowling, who's a very hardcore feminist, is, and God bless her, and I'm glad she's on our side, but a lot of people pointed out, yeah, but JK, your own feminism actually produced this transgenderism, because the fundamental logic is the same. It assumes that culture and society are arbitrary constructs. They're not. And this goes back to the natural law question. The reflections of the divine order of things, the true, the good, and the beautiful inherent in things. Now, we may get that wrong and we need to adjust it. But the notion that they are arbitrary social constructs put in by people of power so as to oppress is, you start with that premise, there's no end to where it goes. And I believe feminism is really the one that pushed it. Just laugh and honk your nose. I love it. Do Democrats even have a plan here? The ground is falling beneath them, and they just refuse to budge. I'm guessing they're afraid of surrendering, and the shutdown will atomize their base even further. Just laugh. That was like my whole argument. That is literally like my entire argument. But you boiled it down much. It took me an hour to make the argument. You boiled it down much more succinctly in 2 sentences. Pretty darn good, man. Making me look bad, boy. Making me look bad. No, that's awesome. You got it. No, I don't think they have a plan. They're admitting it. Axios, The Hill, there are a number of publications that are admitting it. They've got no plan. They know if they bend the knee and forfeit this shutdown, that the far left will outflank them and they'll get taken out. These are the moderates and establishment Democrats will get taken out in the primaries. But if they don't stop the shutdown, they'll continue to hurt their party brand in general. So they're danged if they do, danged if they don't. Rebel Guy, if Mamdani wins, do you see him and Trump clashing in regards to ICE and National Guard? Yeah, probably. We'll see. We'll see how what kind of clamp Governor Hochul can put on him. She is no fan of him right now because she endorsed him, but he refused to endorse her. So we'll see. We'll see. He's going to be dependent on both federal and state funds for all of his wonderful, glorious Marxist plans. And I think both Trump and Hochul might actually end up having a very interesting alliance of convenience here. BW, some righties need snap jobs, not what used to be. BW, I don't know what on earth you're saying, but that's probably me. Life of Brian, good movie. Trump MO is throw gestures and rhetoric at MAGA when he feels heat and go right back to Graham Romney agenda. Well, if you think the Graham Romney agenda is to close borders, mass deportation of 2 million, bring our manufacturing jobs back home, tariff the shit out of China, stop trans athletes in female sports, and ending DEI. More power to you, Life of Brian. Mark, hi, Dr. Steve. How does the seats flip red when the maps are redrawn and SCOTUS rules on VRA? Love your channel. Yeah. How does the seats flip red? So basically the way districts are drawn is that neighborhoods have voting patterns, and those voting patterns skew either left, right, or they're purple. They go back and forth. And what they do is they purposely redraw the districts around neighborhoods that give them a 60-40 inordinate advantage for their party, whatever it happens to be. So that's just what you're going to do. You're going to see like what we're seeing in Texas, we just saw in Missouri, we just saw most recently, just 2 days ago, in North Carolina, where we picked up another seat. We're seeing in Ohio, is they're purposely redrawing districts in such a way that dilute blue districts and overwhelm them with red communities. If SCOTUS overrules VRA, we're looking at another 19 seats. So altogether, we've got about 15 total with if Indiana redistricts. So yeah, we're talking plus 30 seats for the GOP going into the midterms. And the Democrats have already redistricted them out. They've they've gerrymandered themselves out of. There's just no more seats for them anymore. Lord Voldemort, it's time to get rid of the filibuster, reopen the government, pass the full MAGA agenda. I don't like this dumb argument that we can't do it because the Democrats will do the same thing. I'm with you, Lord Voldemort. I don't buy that argument at all, because they already have, and they will. They will get rid of the filibuster. They will try to destroy us. They will try to jail us. They have, and they will. So why allow we are inadvertently allowing the Democrats to set our agenda. I think you're absolutely right. That's what we're doing. And that's it, gang. That's it. Wonderful, wonderful live stream Friday to be with all of you. As you know, I am your back porch professor over the weekend, so keep an eye out for the videos that I'll be putting up there with the breaking news and analysis you're not going to hear anywhere else. Love you guys. God bless.